Just imagine for a second. You wake up, and it's the year 2050, but you don't really open your eyes, not like we do. Your mind just connects instantly to this massive shared digital space. There are no screens to look at, no keyboards, no phones in your hand. It's all just thought, pure memory, pure presence.
All right, so let's get right into it. That future I just described, it's not just something out of a sci-fi movie. It's actually the potential endgame of a journey, a technological and really a philosophical journey that we've been on for thousands of years. So today, we're going to unpack what a brain-connected internet could really look like and what this whole quest for a digital afterlife is all about. But here's the thing. To really get a handle on where we're headed, we've got to look back, way back. This isn't really a story about the future, you see. It's actually a story about our deepest, oldest past. Because when you boil it all down, this whole push for digital immortality, it's just the newest chapter in a really, really long book about us trying to fight off our own end. It's just a high-tech version of our oldest fear.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because a timeline like this completely reframes the conversation, right? We think of uploading your mind as some crazy, futuristic idea, but it's not. I mean, think about it. From the moment we started painting on cave walls 17,000 years ago, we've been trying to download our minds onto something that will last longer than our bodies. The written word, that let our ideas outlive us. Ancient Egyptian mummification, that was all about preserving the body for an afterlife. All of these are just early versions of immortality engineering. So digital uploading, it's just the next logical and, yeah, kind of terrifying step in this ancient quest.
Okay, so that's the ancient why behind all this. But what about the modern how? I mean, how do we actually get there? Let's take a look at the actual tech that could make this 2050 vision a reality.
The absolute key to all of this is something called a brain-computer interface, or BCI for short. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like a super fast two-way highway running directly between your brain and a computer. It's not just about sending your thoughts out as commands, it's also about sending information back in. So you could feel, see, and hear a digital world, creating this incredible sense of presence, all without your physical body even moving in it.
And what's so cool about this is that it shows you that BCIs aren't some wild jump out of nowhere. It's a progression. Every big tech shift is about one thing: removing the friction between us and our machines. We went from clunky keyboards to swiping on touchscreens to just talking to our devices. The end goal has always been to close that gap between thinking something and doing it. A direct neural interface, it's the totally predictable final step on that road.
But, and this is a huge but, this incredible technological leap forward walks us right up to the edge of a massive philosophical cliff. Because once you can perfectly scan and copy a brain, what did you actually create? And that question, well, that leads us to the central, absolutely mind-bending paradox of this whole debate.
You know, the dominant myth, the story we see in movies and TV shows, is that you'll just wake up inside the computer, that your stream of consciousness will just keep on flowing, no interruptions. But here's the catch. Most neuroscientists and philosophers, they think that's a huge misunderstanding of what would actually happen. Okay, so this is the absolute crucial distinction. The procedure would almost certainly create a copy, not a continuation. The original you, the person listening to this right now, your stream of awareness, it just stops. And at that exact same moment, a brand new, separate consciousness wakes up in the simulation. Now it has all your memories, it feels exactly like you, and it's going to swear up and down that the whole thing was a success. But the original you? Gone. It's the classic teletransporter paradox. A perfect copy is still just a copy.
And if that wasn't tricky enough, there's an even deeper problem. We're getting really good at mapping the brain's physical wiring, the hardware. But we have basically zero scientific theory for what consciousness, that feeling of being you inside your head, actually is. That's the software. We could build a perfect replica of the hardware and still have no idea if we actually booted up the software.
It's like the neuroscientist Miguel Nicolelis says, the brain isn't something you can just compute. You can't just pull the mind out of the body. A simulation might end up being what philosophers call a zombie, a perfect imitation on the outside but with nobody home. Because what if the body itself is part of how the mind works? Okay, but let's hit pause on the philosophy for a second. Let's imagine we solve all of that. What kind of world are we actually building? The fallout for society would be, well, staggering. We could be creating the biggest gap between the haves and have-nots in all of human history. You could literally see society split into totally new kinds of classes. You'd have the mortals, people who live and die just like we always have. Then you'd have the uploaded, these digital consciousnesses living forever in simulations. And maybe even the hybrids, people who merge their bodies with tech to live longer, enhanced lives. Immortality would almost definitely be a luxury good, something that would lock in inequality not just for a lifetime, but for thousands of years. I mean, the very fabric of how we live would be turned upside down. Think about it. You could literally go and have a conversation with your great-great-grandmother. Not her memory, but her, living in her own little digital world. Ancestor worship suddenly becomes a two-way call. But then, what does that do to progress? What happens to a society that can't forget? A society that can never move on from its old traumas, its worst mistakes, its deepest hatreds. And all of this, it all funnels down to one final and maybe the most important question of all. In this big race to get rid of death, what part of being human might we lose along the way? You know, there's a really powerful argument against this whole project. Philosophers like Martin Heidegger, for instance, argued that knowing there's a finish line, being aware that our time is limited, that's the very thing that gives our lives meaning. It gives life its urgency, its shape, and makes it so precious.
So what happens if we get rid of that finish line? If death becomes optional, does life itself start to lose its meaning? If we never have to face an end, do we ever really truly live? In the end, this vision of the internet in 2050, it's really just a giant mirror. It reflects back at us our oldest, deepest fears and at the same time our wildest hopes. And maybe, just maybe, this whole quest to conquer death will be the very thing that forces us, once and for all, to figure out what it actually means to be alive.